Welcome to the CouchScouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the CouchScouts podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me is my co-host, Matt Rupert.
How you doing this week, my man?
I am tired, but we press on for the people. It's a full week. I'm pretty tired. I've been going since like 6 a.m. this morning, but I am ready to get into some Dynasty Fantasy Football, breaking down all the action from week 2, and there is a lot to talk about. So on tonight's episode, we are continuing to react to this young season. NFL teams have given us more to look at, more to discuss. Some trends from week 1 continued, some did not. And we also have some injury impacts to look into, unfortunately, already. So, made it out of week 1 pretty clean as far as the injuries go, but week 2, not so much. So, we'll start right off with an injury. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow has suffered a torn ligament in his toe, a severe case of turf toe that will hold him out for 3 months. That's a long time. I didn't know turf toe could hold somebody out for 3 months, but the more you know.
Apparently it was so bad they needed to do surgery.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So I guess when you tear a ligament in your toe, like turf toe, I don't know about you. I think that just the name of it, it's like, oh, I like stubbed my toe. That's kind of what it sounds like, but clearly it's more significant than that. So what's the impact on guys like Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and should contenders move off of Jamar Chase for similar assets who still have their starting quarterback? I'll give you a quick stat here. When Jake Browning last filled in for Joe Burrow in weeks 12 through 18 of 2023, the Bengals went 4-3 in his 7 starts, and Browning was the QB4 in fantasy, and he was second in completion percentage among all quarterbacks who had more than 100 passing attempts. Not bad numbers for Jake Browning the last time he got significant run. So where are you at with this, Rupert?
Because of that was a pretty decent sample size we had, and I think he's a pretty high-end backup. And because of that, I'm not too worried about the skill guys. I think it affects Chase Brown the most. Probably not going to have as many red zone opportunities for him to score touchdowns. But it seems to me that, the wide receiver is going to be just fine. It really stinks for everyone that, has drafted Burrow and has depended on him on their rosters. So I think it's going to affect those people way more than anyone that's holding on to Chase or Higgins, because I think he looked solid in his time that he started.
Yeah. I still feel okay about Higgins and Chase. I mean, Higgins got a touchdown in this very game after Burrow went out. His first touchdown of the season was with Jake Browning. So, they put up respectable numbers in 2023, the last time Browning was the starter for an extended stretch. And they both put up decent numbers after Burrow went out in this one against the Jaguars. So, like you said, Browning, as far as backups go, he's a pretty high-end backup. They came in, they won the game. Obviously, it's against the Jaguars, but they won the game. They kept passing the ball. It's not like they went to this super run-heavy offense and stopped throwing it. So, I think it's reasonable to expect a slight dip for those two, but they should still be very usable fantasy starters. And I think trading Jamar Chase in particular would be really short-sighted. Who even is this mythical? I think he mentioned a comparable player to Jamar Chase that still has their starter. Who fits that description? Maybe you could make the argument for Malik Neighbors, who looks really, really good and is super young, but like, how much better is Russell Wilson than Jake Browning at this stage of his career, right? So that pivot doesn't make a lot of sense. Like Justin Jefferson's quarterback situation is even worse right now. And Jamar Chase has just been like, even from Jefferson, who I love, Chase has been in a league of his own as far as the production. Just this past week, he won you matchups. Like I lost some matchups where I was better at almost every position, and Chase was just so good that I still lost. So, including one to you, Rupert, you torched me in one of our leagues, and Jamar Chase was a big part of that. So
I wasn't going to mention it on the podcast. Don't worry.
hey, well, I mentioned it for you. You deserve your
I,
flowers, man. Well played.
I do think it is worth noting. Like, I think the best fantasy advice out of all this is if you're someone that's rebuilding, I think if you
Yep.
can acquire Burrow, even if
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting a discount, I think the fact that, like, if you're rebuilding and you trade like a Baker Mayfield or a Goff for him, uh, I'm sorry,
Dude, if you
you
could
trade
get that
them.
done, if you better send some
Yeah,
plus, because if you
yeah,
could
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah,
if you
yeah.
could do that straight up, that's a steal. But
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm saying is, like, if you can get him onto your team and then you don't have his points, weighing you down, like, I think that just helps your rebuild. I did a similar thing a couple years ago when he was injured. I was able to acquire him pretty cheap, and it really helped my rebuild.
yeah, that's the thing is last time he was hurt, you could get him for not cheap, but cheaper. Like I think I saw somebody in our Discord say that like last time he was hurt, he said 2 years ago, this was Dynasty ER, one of our faithful members here. He said 2 years ago when Burrow was out for the year, I sent Dak to a contender for Burrow. Like, man, how good does that look at this point? So yeah, I think there's a lot of trades you could make for Burrow right now that if you're not trying to contend and you can take the hit and just get a zero from your quarterback position in the short term, like by next year, it's some of these deals will look like a coup for you. Like
Yeah,
prior to this, it probably would have taken like Stroud plus 2 firsts.
yeah,
Could you now send Stroud and a first, right, and get off that roller coaster? Because I have my concerns about Stroud at this point.
which is sad
It's
to
just
say.
it is sad to say, but there's no rushing upside, and the passing offense it doesn't look the same as it did back when they had a healthy Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Diggs and all the things, right? So
Right.
yeah, it's tough, and I still believe in Stroud for real life purposes, but fantasy wise, like he's not getting it done really at a high level. So yeah, if you can make some kind of deal like that where you take a clear down tier from Burrow long term, add a pick or something, and make that flip, and a contender might be desperate enough to take it because they're like, I need somebody to play in my QB2 spot. So yeah, see what you can get done there. All right, so second discussion point for today. We saw the debut of Quinshawn Judkins, who finally got on the field after dealing with his legal troubles and finally signing a contract. We still might see some kind of a suspension get handed down, but for now, he's out there. And he ripped off a long 31-yard run against the Ravens on Sunday. Worth noting, the Ravens' backups had already come in by that point, but I saw the run. It was a nice looking run. Watched the all 22. I didn't think he looked amazing, but I thought he looked pretty good. So what did you make of this Browns debut for Judkins, and how do you think it's going to impact Dylan Sampson?
I mean, I agree. Like, he looked good, but not incredible, which is pretty much exactly our eval on tape. Like, he's a
Yeah.
really good running back and probably not elite. So I just reinforce what we saw on tape in college. I still think Sampson will get more pass catching downs, but it was worth noting that he did get a couple passes. Um, so yeah, slightly worried, but I don't know. I still just believe in Dylan Sampson too much to fully
Yeah.
worry about it.
I do like Dylan Sampson, and I believe in him as well. I'm a little worried, though, to be honest with you. They said Judkins was only going to be taking like basically a backup running back load this week. Um, 10 to 15 snaps, I think is what they said. In reality, he ended up playing 20 snaps. That was 27% of the Browns' total offensive snaps. So you would think, like, okay, Judkins played 27% snaps. That's not, but like he had 10 carries and 3 targets, so 13 touches on 20 snaps. It's not half bad for Judkins. Like they were looking to get him involved and pretty efficient with his looks as well. So and Sampson only saw 7 touches. He played, I think, 23% of the snaps. And you're like, okay, wait, 23 plus 26. I'm trying to do the math. That doesn't seem like it adds up to 100. Jerome Ford outsnapped both rookies. He had a 48% snap share and saw
Why,
6.
Browns?
I don't know. And he saw 6 targets. So, like, he was getting a lot of that passing down work that we felt like Dylan Sampson looked really good doing the first week. So, yeah, it's like that was the case week 1 too. Jerome Ford played more snaps than Dylan Sampson. But because it was only 2 of them, Sampson still got enough touches, looked good. Now you make it a 3-headed monster instead of a 2-headed monster, and it's like, how much can you really trust any of them? But, I think long term, it's a Judkins and Sampson committee with Ford kind of getting phased out of this deal. But right now, like, Ford is the lead guy 2 weeks in a row. He's taken the most snaps. He's been on the field more than anybody else at running back for the Browns. So in the short term, it's kind of ugly. Like, if Judkins' involvement gets ramped up even more than it was this week, which we expect to be the case, is it Ford snaps that he eats into, or is it Sampson snaps that he eats into? I think that's going to be worth monitoring and paying attention to. So, kind of unfortunate, but the numbers are what they are, at least for now.
We can
All
pray
right,
that changes going forward.
we can. Here's our third question. Put very simply, is Daniel Jones legit? Here's a snap for you. Pending Monday Night Football, so this show note was made pre-Monday Night Football. Jones had the 2nd most passing yards and the 6th most accurate quarterback in the NFL. He also leads all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns inside the 5-yard line with 3 scores on 4 attempts. They are doing the tush push with Daniel Jones. And of course, his head coach used to be Jalen Hurts, offensive coordinator. So are we seeing AFC Jalen Hurts? Is Daniel Jones legit? Where are you at on this, Rupert?
I'm leaning no. And like we've seen Daniel Jones for how many years now? He has had stretches where like he's gotten hot and had strung a few like good games together, but he's never been able to keep that consistency. So therein lies my doubts that, this is a long-term, fantasy asset for your team. I do think it is worth pointing out, like, this is a good offensive system and they have a great offensive line, which can be a quarterback's best friend. And then he just has a plethora of weapons all over. Just Tyler Warren just being a monster from the get out. They have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver with Pittman, Downs, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, and then, of course, Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. So he's set up to be able to succeed where they don't have to rely on him. But I still, it's just so hard to say that he's going to be, Jalen Hurts going forward. I'm just going to wait no.
Okay, so saying he's going to be Jalen Hurts is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But is he legit? I think it's a maybe. I wouldn't completely dismiss the possibility. I need to give Garrett Price from Dynasty Nerds a shout out because I was listening to their podcast and he said something that I can't unhear that has like totally changed the way that I've thought about this because, yeah, in my mind, I was like, we know who Daniel Jones is. We've seen a big sample size, da 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 da. But he brought up Ryan Tannehill. That was a 1st-round pick that had the mobility and the rushing that flamed out in his first location in Miami. But he found that second life right around his late 20s, early 30s with the Titans. He found a system that fit his skill set. He had matured as a player, and he put up multiple QB1 seasons before the wheels fell off, so to speak. And there's been a lot of times, honestly, like when you look back and you think on it, that we left a quarterback for dead and thought we've seen a big enough sample size to know this guy just isn't it. And then all of a sudden, right team, right system, right fit, like Jared Goff with the Lions. We thought he was dead in the water after the Rams moved on from him. Sam Darnold, he might still be bad, but for when he was with the right team and the right system with the right coach, was really good for that 1 year. Baker Mayfield, obviously everybody left him for dead. Lands with the right team, right system, right coach. All of a sudden he's a stud. So I'm not going to completely dismiss the possibility. I think Daniel Jones, his rushing is not just good, like it's really, really good. Like the season that he was, I think QB9 with the Giants, he had like 800 something rushing yards that year, which is up there with like the Jaden Daniels of the world, right? That's like elite quarterback rushing numbers. People think like he's not, or he's just like an okay athlete, and I don't know if there's a little bit of like um racial profiling going on there, or I don't know. Um he's really good with his legs, which obviously provides a big floor for fantasy. And you mentioned the weapons all over the place, the coaching staff, the O-line, all of it. So, uh, like, I got to call Jackson out here because we offered him, and I am totally willing. By the way, there's been conversations happening in our Discord where some people have said, if you got a second for Daniel Jones offered to you, would you just smash it, take it, and run? And some people are like, yes, absolutely, and other people are like, no. I would send a second. I would feel comfortable with that on a team where I needed a quarterback and um, mid to late. If it ended up being early, it wouldn't like be the end of the world. Because again, like if that range of outcomes, if this is really a career resurgence and we see multiple years of good production, he's worth that. Um, I would not send a first. And so we offered a second round pick to Matt Jackson in a league that we co-own. And to be fair, he's a contending team. He's 2-0. He just lost JJ McCarthy. He's going to be starting Daniel Jones. So I wouldn't take the second if I was him either. But he hit me back up and he said he wanted a late first, which I said was laughable, sending a first for Daniel Jones. And he said a late first for someone that is doing that, putting up QB1 numbers is a bargain for you. And I said, wait. So you're okay with me going on the podcast and telling the world that you said you would send a first for Daniel Jones? And he was like, no, I think he's worth a mid to late second. I was just trying to sell you on it. And I was like, okay, doing the used car salesman bit on me. So he backtracked on it. So I have to give him grief for that. But he was trying to get a first off of me. I wouldn't do it. But yeah, I mean, I literally went through all of my leagues today and I was like, where are there leagues where I could use some quarterback help and I could send a second that might be mid to late? And are there going to be some people in some leagues that smash accept on that just because they're getting something for an asset that they think is bad? I think that's a realistic possibility. So yeah, go do that. Go send a second for Daniel Jones in as many leagues as you want to do it in. That would be my advice. I think in some of them you might get an accept hit on that. And if he does take the Ryan Tannehill career arc, you got to steal with a second round pick, I think. So I'm semi buying this Daniel Jones resurgence. Could he turn into a pumpkin next week? Of course he could. But I like what I've seen so far. I like the coaching staff. I like the supporting cast. I'm kind of buying in on the career resurgence here for Daniel Jones. So, am I crazy?
No, not crazy. If you said you were going to give up a first, I might call you crazy, but no, you're being reasonable. Like we have, like you said, we've seen a lot of examples of it just in the last couple of years. Geno, Sam Darnold, Baker. It's been happening more and more than I ever remember. because I can't really think of any other older example
Yeah.
than Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
It seems like
Imagine 2 games into Ryan Tannehill's Titans stint, you sent a second round pick for him and it got accepted. Like that
right.
would have been a freaking steal.
Yeah, agreed.
So, yeah. Um, I would take that gamble, especially on a contending roster. All right. So, let's continue on here. Before we do, though, let's take a quick break and shout out CouchScouts.com. If you have not yet joined the Couch Scouts family, you're missing out. We've got so much great content, tools, analysis. On the website, we have an in-depth rookie guide covering 70 plus prospects, and we'll do it again in 2026. We have bonus podcasts just for members, breaking down all kinds of topics that we don't get to on the main show. And honestly, we save a lot of the juiciest stuff for that bonus podcast. We have a uh, consultation where, you know, for some of our packages, you can book a 30-minute one-on-one consultation with one of us to go through an in-depth personalized strategy on a dynasty roster of your choosing, and lots more. So check it out today at couchscouts.com. You can get in for as little as $50 for a year, which is less than $5 a month. And we definitely appreciate you jumping in and being part of the Couch Scouts family. So with that being said, let's get into our next topic. I'm not on social media, but I hear that social media is buzzing about Trevor Lawrence throwing hospital balls, Brian Thomas Jr. dropping whatever ones do hit his hands, and obviously our guy Travis Hunter is not doing so hot. So what the heck is going on in Jacksonville, Rupert?
To me, it just looks like a rookie head coach just going through going through the grinder of becoming a head coach and not just the offensive coordinator. There's so much there.
Yeah.
Very few, succeed within the first couple games. Normally, there's a learning curve there. So I really hope that's just it, and they're going to get things figured out eventually because it has looked very rough and out of sync for them all over.
Yep.
I did see a very hard to watch montage of Brian Thomas Jr. just not catching balls, throwing up alligator arms, just not looking like he has any interest in catching. Yeah, just been rough overall for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Barely beat the Panthers, which is saying something.
Yeah, I mean they beat the Panthers pretty handily, honestly, but like it's not it's not saying much. Even like I watched that whole game, and even though the scoreboard was lopsided in Jacksonville's favor, Trevor Lawrence didn't look very good. He was, he had some good balls and some bad ones, but a lot of inaccurate passes. The offense it looks out of sync right now, and I am a little concerned. Trevor Lawrence looks rough. For all the montages you could pull up of Brian Thomas Jr., you could also put up a Trevor Lawrence montage of bad throws, and it would look equally ugly. They're spreading it around more than we might have thought. So guys like De'Ami Brown and Parker Washington are like pretty involved in the offense, which that's not great. Like we were expecting a Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. like pretty heavily concentrated target share between those two guys. And that's not been the case so far. I think Hunter is being completely misused right now, in my opinion. And that might sound like I'm just making excuses because we were all in on Hunter and he hasn't looked good. But they're using him as this like gadgety, close to the line of scrimmage, like purely yak guy. And he's so much more than that. So like he's almost entirely played out of the slot. Like you could move that guy anywhere in the formation. You could ask him to run any route. And I don't understand the usage. Maybe they're trying to simplify things because he's also playing on the defensive end. I don't know. His defensive, like first game, he only played 6 defensive snaps. Second game, it was like 30 something defensive snaps. But the good thing was his offensive snap share didn't go down just because his defensive one went up. So I think that's an encouraging sign. Like he still was a nearly full-time offensive player. But Yeah, dude. Like Trevor Lawrence right now doesn't look like he can support one fantasy wide receiver, much less two. So I am concerned, and I hope it gets better as the season goes along. Like you said, new head coach, Trevor's learning a new offensive system, Hunter's getting acclimated to the NFL. So, and Brian Thomas, we've seen what he's capable of, even though he's off to a rough start. So hopefully better days ahead for the Jaguars. I would not panic sell any of these guys, but I am concerned.
Agreed.
All right. So is Cooper Kupp a buy low candidate? Let's talk the Seahawks. Or is that too soon to say? It's really, he didn't have a great week 1, but he did have a good week 2. And what went wrong with Zach Charbonnet? According to Next Gen Stats, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet have faced 8+ defenders in the box at the first and second highest rates in the NFL. So teams are loading up on the run against Seattle. They are trying to make Sam Darnold beat them. However, Charbonnet is the worst running back in rush yards over expected per attempt with negative 1.75 and is the least efficient runner in the NFL distance traveled per yard gained, aka a lot of running around doing nothing, running into the offensive line through 2 weeks. Interestingly, Walker was the worst among running back efficiency in week 1. So, yeah, let's start with Kupp and then get into the running backs. What are your thoughts there?
I think he's fine. I just wouldn't pay a lot. Like, I'm not expecting multi-year production out of him at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the Rams ate a bunch of dead cap for a reason. He doesn't look quite like the player he was. He looks solid, and I think he could put up, like late career Adam Thielen kind of production. Give you like maybe wide receiver 2, but I wouldn't pay more than a third for him, to be honest. Maybe 2/3 in the right situation, but
Yeah,
I doubt anyone's selling him for that. So I don't know if I can really call him a buy
they
low
might.
candidate.
I mean, I don't know. Depends. He's probably sitting on a contending roster, so yeah, I don't know like how motivated they're going to be to sell for next to nothing if he's a usable piece. But if for some reason he's out there on a team that's not contending, or maybe you get to the trade deadline on a team that thought they were contending, and now they're trying to blow it up. Like there could be an opportunity to buy him cheap at some point. Just depends on the league. And I think he's a fine buy as long as it's cheap. I am in the same range as you, a third, 2/3. Like he's not going to be the stud that he once was, but he's going to have plenty of usable games. It's going to be a run-heavy team, and Arroyo might get more involved as the year goes on. But for now, Kupp is clearly the second option. He's playing a pretty heavy snap share. And you're not going to see many weeks like JSN had in week 1, where Jackson Smith and Jigba had a 53% target share and 90% of the team's air yards. That's insane, nuts numbers right there. So that obviously evened out a little bit in week 2, and Kupp gets 9 targets, 7 catches on those 9 targets, and he gets 90 yards. Didn't find the end zone, but like that's still a pretty solid fantasy week. Very usable. And I think he'll have more weeks like this one. He's not going to be an every week stud, lock it and load it starter, but I think definitely a usable flex piece for your team, and good depth. So let's talk about the running backs. Week 1, you have Charbonnet looking like he's the 1A. Not that he looked amazing, but he definitely outtouched Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker seemed like he was kind of being phased out of the game plan. You saw Charbonnet get into the end zone, took 12 carries. Walker had single-digit carries. But then the script kind of flipped in week 2. Charbonnet, he still had 15 carries in week 2, but he only had 10 yards on 15 carries. Yikes. And Walker kind of blew up. Walker went off in week 2, kind of reestablished himself seemingly as the better running back there. 13 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown. It's crazy that those two running backs could run behind the same offensive line and have that much difference in their rushing production. What do you think here? Do you trust either of these guys? Do you trust neither of these guys? Where are you at with this?
I think Kenneth Walker's clearly the more talented running back, more explosion, more lateral agility. I think Charbonnet's solid, but he's not a guy that can make a ton on his own. Where I think Kenneth Walker can, if there's not something there. I hope the O-line gets back to dominating like they were in the preseason, because it doesn't seem like that's carried over quite as much into the regular season. But to me, I think Walker's clearly the guy to own, but you have to have Charbonnet on your roster as a handcuff just because you never know.
Yeah, Walker gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, a ton. So
yeah, and I think unless one of them does get hurt, I think you're looking at, feed the hot hand week in and week out. Like, I don't know. We're going to have to see a bigger sample size to really figure this out and sort out the backfield. I agree with you. Walker's the more talented guy. But I think they'll also kind of feed the hot hand, and they're both going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. It's hard to trust either one in your lineup right now, unless one is hurt. All right, next topic here. Both 2025 first-round running backs, Ashton Jeanty and Omarion Hampton, have been a bit disappointing in their first 2 weeks of play, to say the least. Is this a blip in the radar when you think about their fantasy careers, that fantasy managers maybe can use as a buy low window, or is it even possible to buy low?
I don't think it's possible to buy low either of these guys now. I don't think people are going to freak out this early on them. So I think it's just a blip in the radar. I think they're both going to really turn on as the season comes on. It is a little concerning with Jeanty, like how bad their offensive line looks. He's having to, make plays in the backfield a ton, but he looks really great. Like if you just look at his stats, you're not seeing a spectacular player, but when you watch the film, you see a bunch of really spectacular moves and plays.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't sell at any kind of discount right now in the leagues that I have them. Maybe Hampton, like if I'm contending and I can get a guy who will produce for me right now but is older, but it would have to be like a real good older player and probably still a plus on top. Like if I was selling, it wouldn't be cheap. It wouldn't be a discount necessarily. And for Jeanty, I just wouldn't sell him at all. Like I'll ride out whatever it's going. Like obviously, I'll sell anybody for the right price, but definitely no kind of sell low at all. He's still getting a huge workload. Still has passed the eye test, like you said. Bad team, bad O-line. But he's still going to be a really good dynasty asset long term. Yeah, so for me, not much of a buy low. Although I will say, Kabir Cart, one of our Discord members, posted this morning in the Discord, said, "How are we feeling about Hampton if the owner is already considering re-rolling into what should be pick 4 through 8 in 2026?" And I think I would take the Hampton side of that still.
And pretty easy for me.
Yeah, he said the guy's fielding best offers but verbally abusing Hampton in the chat. So, obviously that's one league. Who knows? He got an offer of Tootin and Hampton for Trevor Etienne and Rome Odunze. Trevor, like the Panthers, Etienne and Rome Odunze. So he's basically sending Rome, getting both Tootin and Hampton. I would strongly consider that, even though Rome has looked really good. But Tootin, like, he's going to be the guy at some point. He looks, to me, eye test, like, Tootin looks really good. Bashal Tootin definitely could be a sneaky buy right now. But yeah, so there might be a buy window depending on the league and the manager for Hampton. Although I don't think most people would be spending a top 4 pick on him and then trying to freak out after 2 games. Like we knew that Najee probably was going to have some involvement. That ramped up in week 2, of course, probably because he's like still recovering from whatever freak firework thing happened to him in the offseason. I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't put Hampton in my lineup. I'll put it that way. Seeing like his low touch count, I'm going to need to see it from Hampton before I believe it in terms of like playing him in my lineup, but I'm not panic selling him. So, all right. We have a few more topics and we're probably not going to get to all of them, but let's go with, actually, no, we only have one more topic. Great. We've got time. Got 5 more minutes. Fun one. Discussion, speculation. The Chiefs have no running game. Do we think Pacheco can improve, or is Kansas City going to need to bring someone in? And if they did bring someone in, who would you like to see in Kansas City? I'm going to piggyback on what I just said about Tootin and say I think it would be kind of fun to see Travis Etienne get traded to the Chiefs. I think he'd be a really good fit there with Andy Reid, and then we'd get to see Tootin kind of unleash. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be a fun one. Yeah, Pacheco doesn't seem the same to me after his injury. Like explosiveness was a big part of his game, and that seems to be gone. He was like a 4.3 combine guy. He's not that anymore. I think he's going to be a touchdown dependent option for fantasy. Also, Kareem Hunt is seeing about 40% of the snaps, including some of Pacheco's goal line work. So like if Pacheco is not getting heavy volume, he's not a guy you want to be using for fantasy, and he's not getting the heavy volume. So defenses, they can load up on the run more than they usually can against Kansas City because the passing game is not competent right now. So no, I don't. Yeah, I don't see a bounce back coming for Pacheco. Assuming that something fun like a Travis Etienne trade doesn't happen, I would be interested to see some more Brashard Smith involvement. I think he's still pretty raw, but he's an explosive guy and talented and intriguing upside. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Kansas City running back situation?
Hate to say it, but basically right in line with you. Another Jaguar, like I feel like Tank Bisbee would have made a lot more sense being traded to the Chiefs than the Eagles. But yeah, like Travis Etienne makes a ton of sense selfishly.
Yeah.
And I want to see Brashard Smith. He's got that explosiveness, and they need some explosive players right now to really open up that offense. So
maybe they can go trade for maybe they can go trade for Will Shipley. It's weird. He was like making plays and looking pretty good as kind of a compliment to Saquon, and then all of a sudden they traded for Tank Bigsby. It's like, what? I thought they had a pretty good RB2 there in Will Shipley, but
didn't make any sense to me.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. We're going to go record the bonus podcast. So if you're a member, we'll see you over there. If not, definitely get on the action, CouchScouts.com. And please leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, and join our free community Discord. We've got over 250 members in there talking all the time, breaking down trades, reacting to news, hanging out during game day, watching the games together, reacting to live stuff as it's happening. So it's a great community. It's totally free. We just want to get to know the people that listen to our show, so there's no strings attached. And we hope to see you in there.